Number one is Ethereum. And by the way, this is outside of Bitcoin, right? So Bitcoin is always going to be part of my portfolio, and it should be part of everyone's portfolio. So don't take this video as, okay, we're skipping Bitcoin. No, Bitcoin should be in everyone's portfolio. This is outside of Bitcoin. And number two is Ethereum, and this is no brainer. Why would you not hold Ethereum at this point? It's the second largest crypto by market cap. It's been around since 2016. It's quite old, and almost every innovation that has happened in the space has spurred from Ethereum. So you don't want to skip on Ethereum, and there's this big upgrade that's of course happening in September, which is considered a merge, which will merge the two active chains going on right now. Actually, I should say active and passive chain. The active chain is the proof of work chain that exists right now, and the passive one is the proof of stake chain that is being built, and they will merge together, right? That's why they call the merge. And once the merge happens, Ethereum will officially move to proof of stake. And the reason for that is, well, there's a couple reasons. Number one, the energy consumption by moving to proof of stake decreases by 99.95. Right now, mining is very intensive. And by the way, interesting fact, I was just told one of my neighbors in my neighborhood is mining Bitcoin because people have noticed that there's this whining noise coming from the house 24/7. So I didn't quite believe it. So I walked over there, stood outside the house, and sure enough, you could hear these high-pitched whining coming from the basement. And it does seem like he or she is mining Bitcoin full time out of their basement. It's quite interesting. There's a lot of people in crypto now. A lot of people. Anyways, just a interesting side story. But yeah, so by moving to proof of stake, energy consumption is decreased by a significant amount. And also, what most people care about is how Ethereum could scale afterwards. Right now, there's so much congestion, right? Can't handle a lot of transactions. And when it can't, the gas fees go sky high, sometimes paying thousands of dollars just to make one single transaction. That's no good. It's not sustainable. It's not scalable, right? By moving to proof of stake, will allow it to jump to the next evolution, which is to scale. Really, that's the main point of this. And the end goal is to scale Ethereum to 100,000 transactions per second, right? So that is what Vitalik wants. We're still a little bit far off from there, but this is the first step. So this is coming in September. Now, besides this, there's something else that's pretty major that people may have missed out on. Besides, okay, this sounds good for the future, but how will it impact Ethereum right now? The biggest thing is ETH issuance will drop by 90% after this happens. And in fact, it will probably make ETH deflationary afterwards. That's the thing that most people miss out on. Right now, through mining, there's a ton of ETH that gets distributed, right, to the miners. And right now, ETH, unlike Bitcoin, is not capped. There's no cap. I mean, there's just more and more ETH coming, though it's pretty slow compared to overall supply, but there's a lot, right? But after moving to proof of stake, the number of ETH being distributed per day and per year will drop significantly to the stakers. So it'll drop to about 0.6 million per year, about 600,000, right? And if you take into account that right now you have about 2.7 million ETH burned just from the transactions, you have a net loss of 2.1 million ETH per year, which essentially makes ETH deflationary, right? And if ETH heats up again, right, if the entire market starts getting really hot and there's so many people coming on board and buying NFTs and buying other ETH-based, tokens and usually using more DeFi projects on ETH, and if that ETH increase, the ETH transactions increases, then there's going to be more burning. But the biggest thing is the ETH issuance. The number of ETH being released into the market will drop about 90%. And that's significant. That's significant. So I think a lot of people have missed out on that fact. So near term, it's going to make ETH a lot more deflationary, and that could be a gigantic thing as Ethereum starts climbing up and as the entire market starts climbing up. So keep that in mind. And the number of holders for Ethereum continues to rise. This is looking at the number of people that hold 32 ETH, because 32 ETH is required for you to stake once Ethereum moves to proof of stake. So you need to have at least 32 ETH, which is a significant amount. Not everyone can afford this. And right now, you only have 117,000 addresses that have at least 32 coins. But you could see it's been going up. People have been stocking up since Ethereum has fallen to its recent levels, right? And then, lastly, just a couple of things about ETH in case you wonder, how big ETH really is besides just market cap. I've shown this before in terms of total value locked. ETH commands a 58% market share of all the DeFi, all the liquidity, the bridges and tokenization, synthetic tokens, everything. You put it all together, ETH commands close to 60% of everything. And if you look at, let's say, NFTs, for example, if you look at the NFT sales by volume, number one is Ethereum at 11 million. Number two, Solana is at 1.4. That's like 10%. And then it drops down significantly. So I don't know what about the total percentage, but ETH commands a huge percentage, probably over 50% of ETH NFT sales as well. So there's a big gap between Ethereum and anyone else out there. So number one is ETH. It seems obvious, right? It seems obvious with everything else going on and how big they are. They are the big daddy of L1s, of network protocols, of smart contracts, however you want to call it, right? You can't skip out on ETH. All right, now, second one is I'm going to talk about BNB. Again, I've said this before. A lot of people just miss out on BNB. They choose to skip over it, maybe because they don't trust Binance or trust CZ. But BNB should be one that people pay attention to. For the second quarter, outperformed every other smart contract network. Its ratio to BTC is at an all-time high. BNB kind of just hovers around. Sometimes it just acts really boring and doesn't move. But that's also good when things are down and there's a lot of volatility. So despite a lot of projects falling recently, down 50, 60, 70, 80%, BNB kind of just hovers around, and you could see it's about to flip to number 4. It's at a 52 billion market cap. About a fourth of Ethereum. But at one point in time, it was half of Ethereum, right? So BNB is an absolute monster. They have their own chain, obviously. They have various exchanges that uses BNB for discounts, and there's other things that's going on. For example, they have coin burning. Many people don't realize it, but every quarter, Binance burns a ton of BNB based on their profits. Just last quarter, they burned $750 million worth of BNB, and this will continue, right, and increase as more and more people get into Binance and utilize Binance's ecosystem, right? So there's a huge burning that happens. There is a cap on the total supply as well. There is no more. There's no inflation for BNB, right? And Binance themselves are still partnering up all the time. The latest one, they partnered with MasterCard to release a new crypto card in Argentina, but you know that that's just the beginning. They definitely want to get involved with a lot of developing countries and just with credit cards overall. Also, CZ kind of mocked some of the other exchanges out there, saying that, hey, while everyone else is kind of struggling due to large sponsor deals or Super Bowl ads or stadium, naming rights, we're not struggling. We're hiring. And this came out 2 months ago. BNB, as far as I know, I didn't hear any reports about laying people off, firing people, withdrawing applicants. They're still growing by leaps and bounds right now. That shows you how healthy they also are. And if you look at some of the other things that I've mentioned before, if you look at TVL, Binance Smart Chain is at number 3, although I don't recognize Tron as number 2. I don't trust Tron at all. So I'm just going to say BNB is Binance Smart Chain is number 2. So they definitely have a ton of apps, 438 to be exact. So they're second in terms of DeFi dApps. They're second of all chains, and they're second in terms of TVL. Although there's a big difference between TVL, between Binance Smart Chain and Ethereum. There's a huge gap, but nevertheless, they are still number 2, right? So I think BNB is definitely one to watch. A lot of people skip over it, and it's one of those projects that people just always skip on until they realize, okay, now it's at like number 3 on CMC. All right, moving forward, what else is there? You know what? Another one that I really like that I've been talking about a lot is Polygon. Polygon has some great things going on. It got big because it jumped on Ethereum's back. Polygon is a layer 2, so it's EVM compatible. Its tokens are compatible with Ethereum, right? As long as you use a bridge. But basically, they rode the coattails of Ethereum to where they are, but they are absolutely beast right now, and they are still climbing up. Because of their nature, they're already in proof of stake, and they're developing, well, actually they have developed their new ZK EVM technology. I mean, fees on Polygon is so dirt low, right? So if you want to transfer, you want to do anything basically with cheap fees or low fees, right? And in a very fast way, you basically do it on top of Polygon. So that is why Polygon is growing by leaps and bounds, and there's so many things happening. Now, I mentioned about their scaling capabilities. They're the first one to come out with ZK EVM, which means that people, or not people, but dApps that want to utilize the Ethereum virtual machine for much cheaper and to process much faster, you use Polygon's ZK EVM, and this is one of the things they've been working on. Polygon spent billions over the last few years purchasing other projects that have been involved with ZK technology. From a privacy perspective, from a scaling perspective, Polygon is really serious about expanding upon ZK, and this is a big thing that they announced just last month, actually just a few weeks ago. So there's that, and of course they're still making big partnerships. I think people missed out. I missed out on this. Mercedes, they're choosing Polygon for the new platform, some kind of data sharing platform they're doing, right? So that's pretty big, Mercedes-Benz, right? And their NFT marketplaces, like Reddit's new NFT marketplace, where is it built on? Polygon, right? All these new NFT marketplaces that are coming out, they don't launch on Ethereum anymore. They launch on Polygon, right? So Polygon is still growing by leaps and bounds from dApps perspective, from platform perspective, right? And if you look at, they always post out all these like metrics, weekly metrics, number of weekly users, number of transactions per day, right, is still growing. And take a look at this. Their cost per transaction is 2 cents. 2 cents, right? And you versus Ethereum during its heyday of $2,000. I know that's not very often, but still, it's a big gap, right? But they have close to 3 million users. 3 million transactions per day, which is actually more than Ethereum. Okay, Ethereum processes anywhere between 1 to 1.8 million transactions per day. They're already close to double that. And number of weekly active users is sky high. So Polygon is definitely one you don't want to miss out on too. And they just recently added a major stablecoin, USDC, which will cut gas fees. Because right now, even though USDC is supported, you have to use the bridge to kind of bridge between Ethereum and Polygon. You don't have to do that anymore. So that they're native on Polygon now. So this is also a big achievement for Polygon. So a lot of great things also happening with Polygon as well. All right, so those are the 3 that I want to concentrate on today. If you are new to the space and you're looking to buy your very first Bitcoin, Ethereum, or any other crypto, head over to CryptosRus.com and click on Best Crypto Exchanges. This will give you a list of all the major exchanges out there to choose from.